I'm going to open the meeting.
Okay.
Open the meeting. Everybody, welcome to the City of Trinidad's Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission regular session agenda, July 11, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Leone, Coker,
Here.
Armijo, Norris,
Here.
Spain,
Here.
Matarado, and Rolo.
Here.
Item number 4, the approval of minutes. Can we move that to next month's meeting so we can ensure that all the approval for
Process.
next month? That way we can make sure all the
We'll have 3 minutes for that, and I'll make sure they're on the drive for everyone to see.
I appreciate that.
Sounds good?
Moving on, number 5, says old business. I'd like to move old business after the public hearing, which is our next item up.
Public comments.
Oh, are there any public comments?
There's only 2 of us.
Told you. Okay, no comments? All right, so can we move?
Yeah, we could open the hearing and
Okay. Open the hearing.
all right.
This is for public hearings 2023 VAR-3 Hollingsworth and Dennis and Leslie. Consideration of variance from front setback property driveway at 402 Park Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Staff.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission, members and applicants. I am here to discuss an application for a Dennis and Leslie Hollingsworth, a property located at 402 Park Street in Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. This applicant is applying for a limited impact review application, which will ask for a variance for a front setback for a carport. So it's just basically that to pour a concrete foundation for his carport and his area behind the carport, and to set this carport within the bounds of a 5-foot setback, or within 5 foot of his front property line. So we're basically just eliminating his setback for the front area and a few inches of the side. I was also going to ask for a small variance on the roof pitch. However, we have a new application. That's why I gave y'all a new staff report, because there's a new carport in here that has been included, and it's the 24 by 30.
Yes.
And it has a 612 roof pitch and conforming snow and wind loads. So we've swapped out the previous carport for this one.
So the previous was I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the previous was the 412, and now this is the 612.
It's,
Okay.
conforming 612 roof
So is
pitch.
this
So
one
if you
combined?
see anything in my notes that refers to a 412, it needs to be referred to as a 612 now.
So is the new carport larger than the old carport?
There's not a carport existing.
I mean, I know,
The
but
one
the
that was in the
proposed,
packet.
the carport that was in the initial documentation that I read, okay,
if that was a 412 pitch.
Yeah,
Did the carport get bigger as the pitch went?
it got
No.
taller.
It
It got taller
yes.
to accommodate the.
612.
Is that what you guys,
How much?
Well,
sorry.
basically, I mean, what I've stated forth in my staff report is basically, that's the basic facts that I need to put forward for the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission. I do have a staff comment about the structure, and hopefully this is right. I haven't talked to the contractor as of yet, but I do want to state that the plat map contains detailed drawings from contractor Rubin, and those foundation plans include a footer that needs to have a, get this right, a turn down, it's a 4-inch foundation with turn down footers on each side in the depth of 32 inches to be compliant for this foundation. And if this is built to these specified standards, then staff recommends approval of the proposed application. Now, does anyone have any questions about the staff report or anything that I've provided thus far?
I do. Only because everything on the staff report was based on a 412, and now it's 612.
Yes.
Did they switch it to 612 because they want to have a 612, or did they feel like,
612 is
just-
the conforming
Yes,
standards.
612 is the conforming standard, what
I know,
our
but
minimum roof
that's
pitch is.
going to be in the,
It'll just keep the snow off the road, off the
so you
roof.
want a 612?
Yeah, it's fine, it's just a carport.
I have a question. From what I read, their home was a non-conforming roof already. It was a 412.
That is correct.
And that was the reason why we was gonna grant this, or at least
The
entertain the
variance.
variant.
Yeah.
It seems to me like, you're sure this is exactly what you want? Because
Yeah.
that seems to be an undue expense. With this house already being a non-conforming, he should be able to go with a 412 and get okay with it, I think. But the snow is the big deal.
And it's all pro panels, so the snow ain't gonna stay on it, but it'll just give us a little more height,
Right.
in the center, so that's all. And I just wanna put one light in there when we come home in the dark, and that's it, just a motion detector light, so that'll be
We'll
it.
get there in just a second. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we'll get there in just
Yeah.
a second.
We're going a little out.
Anybody else got any questions for staff?
Yeah, so when I was reading through there, I didn't see the setback things, and I was just reading like the roof pitch.
If
And
you
so
go
now
to the-
we're putting it in the front, and so
Yes.
I'm coming around to clarify that.
Okay, if you go to the map on the site plan map,
Okay? Right?
the front setback is right there, or your front property line is right there where that sidewalk is.
Okay.
And they're going to set it back probably, I'm gonna say, it's gonna be, you see the blue line is the setback line, I believe. And it is on this side, not on the other, but it's gonna be out a few inches behind the property line rather than the setback. So we're basically
Oh, okay.
just
Basically, we're asking
taking out the
to-
setbacks.
Basically, to move it forward so many feet, because now it's gonna kind of be in front of the home, not necessarily behind the
And-
setback.
Right.
Normally, this would be a problem if there was a line of sight issue, like with your neighbors pulling out of the driveway, or if you're walking out on the sidewalk. However, since this is a on a dead-end street and there's only one other neighbor before the dead end, it's not as, the line of sight violation, I don't feel is as heavy as it usually is. It carries a lot of weight in my book. So, since Dennis did bring us his neighbors, he explained to all of his neighbors and he had them sign off on a sheet. And on top of that, his neighbors were properly notified through, via registered mail. I feel like the line of sight issue is kind of null and void, especially when Mr. Hollingsworth proposes to buy back the property that's adjoined next to his, the one with the,
Yeah, there's an empty
Empty
lot
lot.
to the west.
he is
So
going
the
to own that possibly someday. Go ahead.
question, so are we asking to put a carport over a sidewalk?
Not over the sidewalk, but over
Above-
the
Above
front
the setback.
setback.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm looking at the sidewalk
The
and.
sidewalk's still in front.
Okay,
Yeah, if you see the
still
square
back from the
carport
side.
lot,
okay.
that's where the carport will
Okay.
go. And it will not be over this front sidewalk, but it will be a few inches back from the front property line.
Okay. Thank you, that's an important detail to me.
Oh, yeah, we
Okay.
cannot have any ADA issues or blockages or anything like that. That would be a federal violation. Anything else?
I'm content with staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Dennis? Leslie, you guys like to come up and
I appreciate it that you guys do this, and what I really want to do is, my truck just got hailed a couple of days ago. It got tore up last year, it broke my windshield this year, and we got over $100,000 worth of vehicles. My wife has a brand new Bronco, and we just want to protect them and increase the property value of our house. I want to pour up to the sidewalk, but not go up. I just want to get rid of the mud and the goat heads and everything. And in the back, I just want to put a place where if we have a barbecue, we can set some chairs and tables. I got a 6-foot privacy fence all the way around my house, and I just want to keep it nice, is what we want to do.
I will say, I think you caught me. I was outside your
Yeah.
house. I just wanted to get my eyes on it, because I wanted to understand. And as it states in here, there's no place else for anything to go, and you can't really go back further. You got some beautiful trees, and
Yeah.
and then we got to think about utilities and everything else. So.
I'm pretty satisfied.
I, reading over staff reports and looking over that, all the utilities, everybody is pretty much in agreement on staff side.
Can I make a note about the utilities?
Yes,
That
sir,
is
please.
important. This utilities are noted on the map. However, there's a new water line that will be underneath this carport. And Mr. Hollingsworth is aware that if there is a problem with this water line, it does mean that everything will be torn out and to replace the water line.
Is that on the city side or is it on his?
His
It's on
property.
my side.
So it's after the city connection that would go
Yeah.
underneath the concrete?
Of what, how long ago
Correct.
did they put a new water line in? 8, 10 years, something like that? Well, our old water line used to be under the sidewalk.
Right.
Well, when the city put the new water line in, in the new meter in, they moved it out like 3 or 4 feet. And so it is what it is, you know. But if
See,
it's all in copper, it ain't galvanized.
there's
So,
that WS with the arrow on the map. It
Yeah, okay,
locates
I
the
see.
water line.
Okay. And the S is what?
It could be sanitary sewer, but I don't.
That's the water.
yeah, that's
Sure.
all it is.
Sewer.
Okay.
So
That's
it's
running
the
in
water
middle
and the
of the road.
sanitary
Okay.
sewer line is
Yeah.
running.
So on the staff report that I have, water and sewer didn't sign off. Are they,
And now if you look at the new report, they did
they
sign
did
off.
sign off?
Are we sure that we got this copper line below the frost line?
Yeah, it is.
Because this is gonna be, I'm sorry, guys, I really believe this is gonna be a problem for y'all. You're
been-
aware of this, right? I mean,
Yeah, they moved it 10 years ago
And,
and nothing. And it's just gravel, so.
okay, I just don't want y'all to pour a new slab and then turn around next winter, us have a bad winter in there, here Jack Cameron your slab out.
No, it won't.
Out of
You
curiosity,
could re-ground
are
it.
you pouring, and this is really has no bearing, but it's just knowledge. Are you pouring a full concrete?
Yeah, I'd like to, just to keep, you know, the weeds and
No,
stuff
I understand.
down.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay. When they're doing, where does that water, because I can't see.
Right here along that sidewalk edge. is
Right.
where
I thought
that
it-
water line
I
is.
thought she said it goes.
It goes right
through-
under the carport.
Under the
Yeah,
carport.
it's under the
completely.
carport.
It's gonna be kind of like under the
Yeah.
east side.
We
so to
drive
speak.
over the meter cover all the time. In fact, I had them, and I'm like, really, you guys couldn't have put it where it was before, you know? But yeah, it's just out where we drive it.
So the meter is actually going to be in where you want to pour your slab?
No, the meter's out in the
The
street.
meter's out.
Okay.
In fact,
So,
All right.
at the end of the day, basically, you understand that by you putting this in, that if anything happens in the future, this is gonna.
yeah, it'll be on us.
It'll be on you guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, if they're accepting that,
And I'll forward the specifications for the footers to Mr. Hollingsworth and his contractor to make sure that we are below frost line,
Yes,
because that is very important.
very. But I mean, if it
I would
hasn't
think for the
frozen in
city-
10 years,
I would think the city
then y'all
would
got to be good.
do what's supposed to, you know, when the new water line came in, I'm sure
Yeah.
everything is up to snuff. So.
Yeah, the only concern is gonna be whenever you dig the footers, make sure that whenever you cross the line,
Yeah,
that you're really
yeah, I'll
careful.
sleeve it,
Yep,
and that way if something happens, you
There you
can pull it out.
pull it and
Yeah.
rerun it. That's a great idea.
So, but yeah, that's all we want to do. Just as long as it don't hail no more.
We can't make that happen. Yeah, that's out of our control. You're gonna have to talk to someone else.
Yeah, it didn't do no good.
So you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, I'd appreciate it if we could get on with it, because it's been a year in the works and had to put my mom in the legacy, and that took most of the time last year, so,
We're running out of time.
yeah,
Fix to be winter again.
yeah.
Personal issues tend to hold us back from some of the other things that we want, so we'll get you there. We'll get you
Sure.
there. All right, I'm satisfied.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
All right, close the hearing. Anybody got anything to say?
I think it's gonna be a great addition. I am concerned about the water line, but they've accepted. We discussed it, and I think that they're aware of it. I think it's gonna look amazing, and I think being Trinidad, it would be wrong of us to say, instead of building this over a gravel lot, turn down those pretty trees in the backyard. I think that would just be terrible of us, so You know, I'm all for this. I think it's a great idea.
I drove by the lot and I went and I had to get my head wrapped around. I knew it was on Park Street, it just threw me off where it was at, so I went and inspected it, and there's really no other place.
I think it's a beautiful deal.
It will be definitely, I think it fits the criteria of everything that we always look for. I mean, I applaud you for moving up to the 612. It kept, it helps keep the snow off. Yes, it
Better,
does
yeah.
add a little bit extra cost, but there's pros and cons to everything. So.
And like our house was built in 1876. And Ken Doctor was reading a deed of trust one day, and he's like, there was 300 acres that went with that house. It went all the way to the river. And I'm like, wow.
That's some history for
Yeah,
sure.
and we just done our kitchen, well, about 4 years ago. And you gotta take everything apart because it's got like 31-inch doors. And so we're having a guy come in, and the house is all 2 brick wide. And we put new windows and everything, so we like where we live and it's close to work.
Anybody else?
My question, you sought information from the neighbors, that often is done through something in the paper. Was there something where we know that the people actually saw it?
She
Registered,
did
got their eyeballs
state
on
that
it?
there was
You
things
have-
sent certified mail.
Properly
And they
noticed in the
brought
it up.
paper,
I was,
and it was in Monday's paper. Usually it's on the weekend.
Uh-huh.
Due to the holiday, it was one day late, but his neighbors, adjacent neighbors were properly noticed.
Okay, and they responded, I was asking for the part that you were starting, that Sam was starting to tell me, but I wanted to hear the staff report on that part.
Yeah, but in addition to, Mr. Hollingsworth went to his neighbors and physically told them
Okay.
everything that was happening and got them to sign off, in addition to what staff does.
And so you saw the,
Yeah, the paper is, if it wasn't included in the report, it's in my folder. There's
yeah,
probably about 10 signatures.
okay. That's kind of interesting information for us to be privy to in advance of the meeting. But thank you.
Noted.
Thank you.
I can add it to the file afterwards, but for what it's
No
worth.
problem. Appreciate it. No, I have no further questions. I just wanted to make sure, because we're going 612, we're putting in the front, I want to make sure we're not blocking anybody's view or anything, I mean, that I didn't get a chance to drive by because I was traveling from Phoenix today, so I just.
Yeah, I think, she made it, Chris made a good point earlier when she was doing her staff report. You're talking, it is on a dead end street. There's really, even behind you, this is, even at a 612 pitch, I think the house, if I'm correct, the house is gonna look taller than the.
Oh, the house will be taller,
Yeah,
cause
the house
it's
is
got
gonna
like,
exceed the,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
got like a 912 pitch on the
Yeah,
main
but
part.
I don't, when I went down and looked at it, I didn't see any situation, because even when you drive down the street behind it, there's no views. There's sometimes there's some empty lot. If I'm correct, there's some empty lots back.
Right
there,
to
so-
the west, there's an empty
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, so it's, in my opinion, I think, I agree with staff. I'm okay with it coming forward. Again, we're not on the sidewalk, we do have a setback there. On the west side, we are protruding, according to the map, we are protruding a little bit outside on the west side as well. But I think how everything is plotted, I say that I agree. I think we should allow them to go ahead and
Should I make a motion?
move that
I
forward.
have one more question for you. Your electrical drop, is it on the, what is this, the east side of the house? Or?
It's on the south side. There's no, we,
And are you planning on going to run from your primary box in your house out to the shop to provide electricity to a shop?
Yeah, just for one light is all, and it'll all be underground, so.
Answers the question. Thank you. Won't be any obstruction with the power lines.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application VAR-03, Hollingsworth, Dennis, and Leslie.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Leone, Coker,
Yes.
Armijo, Norris,
Yes.
Spain,
Yes, ma'am.
Materano, and Rolo.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember us, protect your cars.
The building's gonna be
Yeah.
very nice.
Get rid of those
Yeah.
go-aheads.
Thank you very, very much.
Don't know what it's like walking out there
Shoot.
throwing
Those
rocks
are
at
my
raccoons. God.
I know all about them, go ahead.
All right, thank you guys, I appreciate it very much.
I'll
Thanks,
send you a
Chris, for
letter
all
and you
your
can
help.
apply for your permits as soon as
Okey doke.
you get that.
All right, thank you, I
very
appreciate
much.
all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a good night.
You too, thank you.
All right,
Hey Keely, can
moving
you hear
on.
us?
So now we're gonna play with old business. I'm glad you're here, Keely, because I didn't know how to handle this. The floor is yours.
Oh, she can hear us.
You're muted.
Oh gosh. Let me see if I can get this. Is it all unmuted on your side? Did that work? Hello, hello. I may have to log out and log back in.
Chris, I think the volume's down here.
I think it's the login thing, because it's not. All right, let me leave and come back in.
When we do exceptions, I think it would behoove, it'd be in our best interest to give our logic for why we're doing what we're doing and include that so that we're not just doing it willy-nilly or capriciously to say, you know, right, yes, we made considerations and, because otherwise, you know, I mean, it is public record and people could come back and.
When we approve these, you mean?
Yeah, when we approve an variance, you know, I mean,
Should I have said more when I made the motion?
I think, I don't know when we say that, but I think it's important that we put a little bit of our thought down.
I'm not sure, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's save that for after we do
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Right.
All right, we're back online. How does that work?
Can you hear me?
Yes!
All right. Good job.
Good
I
job.
learned something from Steve.
Well, we'll give a quasi judicial board.
Gotcha.
Yes. All right, we're ready to move on,
Okay.
All right.
sir.
Open the hearing. Keely, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. You can hear me okay, right?
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
again?
Mhm. All right. Present. Just trying to get this presentation up.
Do I need to share something? I see it on your thing.
Oh, good. I think it's my laptop is just really slow when it comes to these graphics. So, presenter view. Let's go.
I saw it present. Do you want it?
There he is.
Uh-oh. There it
Okay.
goes.
Great. So, y'all have probably heard about our area-wide planning efforts that we're doing with a third party Their name's Stantec. They're out of the Northeast, and I believe that we were contracted with them through the EPA. So we got an EPA grant. It was for the assessment of brownfields and planning in our area. So what we decided to do with that was do a planning effort that, pretty much encompassed anything that had to do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. That it had pretty much had anything to do with the provisions within the grant. So what that kind of means is that we're allowed to look at, under the provisions of this grant, we're allowed to look at vacant storefronts, things like anything that has to do with a brownfield, which the EPA has a certain definition for. And that's the redevelopment or the reuse of a property that might be complicated by the presence of like a hazardous substance. So that could be anything. That could be like old gas tanks. It could be, there was a mill here from 100 years ago, and the likes of those types of things. It could be lead paint. So when you start to look at the list, it pretty much is everything that's in town. Can be applicable to kind of the goals of the EPA planning grant. So what you're looking at right now is the base map. It's just the town, basically. It's really small. I'm sure you can't see it, but that's okay. And the only thing it's really identifying is what's there now. And they also have some data on what's there historically and who owns the properties. They're looking at buildings. They're looking at what's green space. They're looking at what's vacant space, sort of in a 1,000-foot view. So part of their process in working with us is to kind of conduct this inventory and get it into their system so they can start to really analyze it. And going forward, after they've kind of sort of finished the analysis phase a little bit almost, and going forward, they want to work with community stakeholders and the larger community to come up with an urban framework plan and catalytic projects. And then they want to turn those into an action plan. I hate saying all these words because I just feel like it's a lot of fluff, but at any rate, that's sort of an explanation of what their goals are. Now, another thing that we've asked them to do was we said, well, we don't want you to go forward with this plan without A, a lot of community engagement, and B, integrating a lot of the projects that are already going on. We don't want to do double work, or we don't want to have conflicting proposals. So this is showing a riverfront plan that's basically just overlaid over their assessment plan. And that was the one that the Greenway Foundation's working on. So I don't know if y'all have seen any of these. They're kind of exciting. I mean, you can't really see much, but basically what I take from this is that it's really all the improvements that's going to be happening along the riverfront kind of give the city a big hug, which I'm liking, and then I see some opportunities over here, and then over here I'm not seeing so much green. So just something to think about as we move forward.
Question, not to interrupt.
Yes.
The red dotted line on there, that did, I know it's hard for everybody to see, but that's kind of like, isn't that the boundary lines of what we're kind of looking at where this plan is trying to come together? What was the red dotted line on there? Because that's that's how I took it.
Good point. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So that's the boundary of the assessment area for the grant.
Where is
And the planning effort by Stantec. So they are not really going too far out of that line, although when I first started talking to them, I started identifying some things.
Oh,
Are we okay?
Yes, ma'am.
he's just pointing
Okay.
out.
They're
He's
pointing out
just
the red
pointing out
line.
where the line is. Thank you for that aside.
I can see it better.
I don't know what's going on, but I assume Commissioner Norris saved the day.
He did.
At any rate, so yeah, that's the area. And then there's obviously, lots of things that are happening outside of that area in terms of urban planning that they'll probably make connections to. So for example, the state park, not in their area, but has wife connections. Cool, okay, so that was just to illustrate that point. Stantec has sort of started to think about the area by breaking it up into smaller areas, which they refer to as character districts. And up in the top left, we've got the Pine Street Business District, the La Puerta District, which is kind of the new hotel and all of that, the Purgatory Greenway, which is our Greenway thoroughfare through town. The red is the Historic District, which that by the way, aligns with our national park boundary, but not, actually it's national park boundary and our zoning. So, but don't worry about it. It's not a formal thing. It's just kind of a character observation. Now down there on the bottom left, that dark blue, that's the Gateway District. And up near the other blue on the other side, the Riverside District, and then the East Main District. So what we can start talking about is, what all these districts kind of want to feel like, or what they already feel like, and what the opportunities are. So breaking it up into more digestible areas and projects. Okay, this one is so small and so detailed, but this is basically a map that makes connections. It's talking about catalytic intersections that could be developed. It's talking about pedestrian connections. It's talking about opportunity sites, which are in the yellow. Very, very first blush on this, but starting to kind of put tags on things and identify them, so that, and my anticipation is that, like, for example, I see an A.1 tag that's on a route that's near Commercial Street and the Greenway. And I think that they're using that tag to identify sort of an opportunity, and then they'll kind of extrapolate that tag.
What do they mean by opportunity?
So an opportunity, so sort of a planning opportunity or a redevelopment opportunity. So they probably, when they were going through and through talking to, some of the stakeholders and some of the other community members in the city and the staff, and just doing a walk-around assessment, they probably thought to themselves, hey, there's an opportunity here to connect this alley to the Greenway. How do we do that? So at this point, they're kind of just putting a marker there saying, hey, this is an opportunity. What would we want to see in this alley?
If I remember correctly, when I was listening in on the meeting, it sounded to me like, and I could be wrong with my areas, because there is some what I want to call alleyways, because they're not true through streetways, and if I'm correct, what I would say is next to Stay Fit. So we have
Yes.
there's something that comes up through there that comes down from Church Street.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Like
But
the one
it can
that's
take you
walking
back up, and
path.
that would be more like a pedestrian way. It's something that can get you down, because there's going to be action happening with what Kip Hamden and what they're planning for down at the old. But it would give us like a community walkway up through, not really using it as a streetway, but more like a walkway that can get you from down in this area up to Main Street, that can connect to other, to our area. Am I correct in saying that, Keelan?
Totally. So you're talking about down, so let's see, Church Street's right here, Main Street's right here, and I think that through a couple of these planning efforts, we've said, hey, what about all these alleys? Like, there's some other municipalities that are making these really cute. They're putting tables out there, they're cleaning up the brick, they're maybe putting some benches out, whatever it is. Or maybe they're doing art. And they're making these very, very friendly, so that people kind of that draws you through. And I think the reason that we got stuck talking about some of those alleys that are like between Main Street and the area back here, which is basically the brewery and then possibly an expansion of the communal park, is because there's so much parking in here. The library's in here. You've got your main street over here. But then if you had these kind of delightful little areas where you could walk, and then it could connect you to this main park over here, you would just be creating more pedestrian connections and maybe more opportunities for things to happen off of those alleys, such as like forgotten little entrances to potentially apartments, or maybe sitting areas in the back of the library, or something like that, where you just have just more life in some of those. You want to turn that dark little alley into something that's got life.
Correct.
So that's kind of what we were talking about in terms of opportunities. And like I said, this is in the planning phase. There's really nothing here that's like set in stone, with the exception of, some of the other things that are happening, like the greenway stuff, and then like Commissioner Coker said, some of the Kip Hackam stuff, that's all private, so that's happening. So the idea is to try to get in the driver's seat on the planning initiative so that we have some say in how to develop together instead of like everybody in their own silos. Let's see what I've had over here. This one is an overlay that I drew, and this is just talking about pipeline projects and opportunity projects, and then recently completed projects. So we were working with the college recently on potentially getting some tech jobs to come to town, and tech education opportunities, and they said, we want to know what's going on. So I drew this, and the purple is like opportunity sites, and the orange is pipeline projects that we think are happening, or they're in the works, and the yellow is all the stuff that's recently had permits pulled and was completed. So there's a lot of little yellow on there, which I love to see, and big chunks of orange, which hopefully we'll get more information on in the next couple months. So at any rate, that is what we recently, this is what we recently got back from Stantec. We had a stakeholder meeting, Commissioner Coker was there. And so I guess what I'd like to do is kind of get your comments on it and then let you know what the next steps are in the process. So does anybody have any questions? And you can say anything. Anything valid, any comments? What are your thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and take some notes and keep my mouth shut for a second.
If it would be possible to get copies of this, because it's really hard. It all sounds great, but we can't see anything other than color, right? So we really don't have a clue what you just explained, because we can't see
In detail?
Yeah, I can't see anything.
So is this shareable for the planning? Can you share these documents with us?
So in this planning process with this consultant, I think a lot of people ask for that, and the problem is that once you start handing out maps, people they don't necessarily know what they're looking at, and so when they start you can make copies of it starts getting distributed. So I would think maybe what we could do is, would you guys be up for maybe coming into my office and we could sit down and look at it together on a bigger screen?
Sure.
Obviously, the whole group couldn't come in at once, but
Sure.
Or maybe on our Google Drive if we promise not to print it.
I think
Or read
that's
only, can you
reasonable.
do that?
I think that's reasonable. I think we just have to understand that the cautions of like distributing it right now, just because it's still so draft and it's just still ideas, and so it doesn't really mean anything. And that's all. But I think we could do that in a Google Drive. I'd be fine with that.
That'd be great.
I'd also like the opportunity to come in, but
Because if I remember correctly, there was some talk about an area that they're trying to incorporate up by the college, and I think one of them's an existing soccer field that has another field next to it. And there was some chatter about that within the meeting. And I know this is still in the planning stage, but am I correct, and did I understand all that properly? Because we do have two soccer fields, and it was like, you know, I remember
It's right
when my
next
son
to
was young, we used to take him there
Sanders
for
Field,
flag football,
next to
so
the church.
I remember going up there, and it's right up there in the college boundaries. Is that something we're just kind of looking at like it's a possibility? Is that something
What are they
that,
wanting to do with them?
huh?
What did you say they're wanting to do with them?
Well, there was some chatter about doing something, not with both of them, but with one of them, because still the
I think that
college
was
would do
Dr.
some.
Eppert's comments that she had made. There's different uses for different parks, but I don't think there was any
Wasn't
plan.
nothing in here, because I could have swore he talked about that in the meeting the other day, the gentleman that was with the group that's doing the layout.
That Sanders Field is used pretty heavily by people exercising their dogs off leash, where they
Yeah,
throw
understood.
balls and frisbees and that kind of thing. And the other side is no dogs. So the law-abiding people are.
Where
I
this
just
is.
believe, like, I like the idea of something happening out there. I do, because I think any vitalization that we can do in some of these areas that have just been kind of
Are we
dormant,
on
they're
Pine
huge.
Street? Where are you talking?
It's.
It's closer to the university.
Mhm. I can't remember the name of the cross street.
Is it Centennial Park?
It's Sanders Field is one of them's called Sanders, and the other one is next to the Episcopal
Oh,
Church.
I know exactly where you're talking about. Yes, I know now.
Okay.
Where they have the kids playing soccer.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, the kids soccer field.
And
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
and I could be wrong, but that's how, when we were in the meet, when I was listening to the meeting, it seemed like that's what they were talking about. Because even the college president kind of chimed in on that, and so it intrigued me, because I like the idea of something happening up there. I would definitely, there's some definite work that could be done up there to make it just a little bit better. And if we get more function out of it, then why not? I mean, I love the idea of that being in the general area. I could be wrong, Keely, but so, again,
No, I think you're correct. I think what happened is that I think the college, the city, I think it was between Jenny and Dr. Epper, and I think Jenny was saying, it's not our park or
yeah,
something
it's
like that.
whose
It's the city park.
responsibility was it?
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, yeah, something like that, which is kind of, doesn't matter, we can figure that out. But Dr. Epper sent me like this memorandum of understanding or something about how they were going to use the park, or something to that effect. I might just drop that into the drive so we could like look at that just a tiny bit more and see who's responsible for that park, and could we. What would be the best use of that park? Because is it good for off-leash dogs, or do we want to use it for like regulation soccer games? What do we want to see there?
Right now, both purposes are being used. When the kids aren't playing soccer, that's when the dogs are there, and so it's self-managing, and that's the one side's irrigated, the other side's not. So
Does the college own it, or?
the college is taking care of it. They're the ones that mow it.
Yeah, I think that's
Nobody knows who owns it.
Yeah, I think there's some kind of swap that wants to happen.
no, but I like the idea. I was glad I sat in on that meeting. I know I missed enough of them, but I like some of the ideas that are kind of being brought to the table, some of the thought process on it, interlinking some of this, some of what's can be happening down here closer to the library, but making things kind of conjoin up to Main Street over to Commercial Street. Just really a big fan of that, especially when we talk about, we do have plenty of people that are, if they're not riding bikes, there's a lot of people that are walking, and with more housing things in this area that they're looking at doing, or I'd just like to see that open up a little bit for more of the walking tourist or the bike riding tourist as well.
Yeah, I applaud the alley development wholeheartedly. Like, I'll second Sam's and then exponent a couple times, maybe the third power. It's a good idea.
I'm excited about the Pine at Arizona district as its own district now, and I think it needs it
I
really
could,
badly.
I can agree with
Agree.
that. Up in there would be definitely,
Yes. I'm
Yeah, that Pine
excited
Street district,
about that.
we were thinking like, how can we connect that commercial corridor to downtown, in a more pedestrian friendly way? So you're not dancing with death every time you try to walk under there.
true. No, for sure. I agree. That's all I have.
I'm a big fan of developing the dark underlit alleys
Yeah.
so that we can drive those people that like to hang out late at night and do bad stuff out of our downtown. I am a big fan of that. So.
Well,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it too, and I'm glad that some of those, I like the idea of finding these little mini opportunities because I can go get grants for that, and so that's what's kind of inspired me a little bit about this planning effort is that finding, even if, like anything on a public right away, I'm like, I'll go find money for it. So I'm loving, I'm loving some of this, like, is this private, is this public? Or, the other side of it is like, we could present the opportunity to the developer, and maybe the developer wants to do the work. They say, yeah, that's a good idea, let's do it.
There's a few that already have.
Kind of incorporating that with their plan, is that what you mean?
Yeah. If they see the value, if Stantec is able to maybe they do a rendering of like, here's some alleys that work, and this is what some other municipalities have done, and the developer might say, oh yeah, I'll pay for that, or oh yeah, like maybe we could, I'll pay for this, and we'll put up the lighting or something like that, if we're allowed to have seating out there or something like that. We could try to negotiate some of these things so that they happen.
Don't a lot of our alleys have utilities going through them, like power lines and?
She asked if a lot of our alleyways would have utilities in them. I think that's, now, it would be a true statement, but I think a lot of that was gonna be in your residential areas, but some of these alleys are not true, like a real regular alley. You know what I mean? It's conjoining, it's not really a streetway, but usually our utilities in this town, when I think about it, they're gonna be, running down our main, east and west.
There's utility easements everywhere, but that doesn't mean that we can't have walkways over.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
right,
great,
right.
no, that'd be awesome. They
Something
just
that-
couldn't be like paved or anything like that, right? Or they could?
It could.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful.
because asphalt, you can.
True.
Well, some of
simple
the-
or gravel.
Yeah.
Something
Or
that I
sand
bring
to
up
make it look
too
cool.
is with the power, the main goal in most situations is to relocate it from above ground to underground anyway. You deal with less breaks, line slap, all of this. Outages are not eliminated, but reduced the minute that you put those lines underground. So in any situation where those lines were up above the ground, if you were developing the alley, you could surely drop them into an underground easement and eliminate a
It
lot
would be
of
so
problems.
pretty.
Yeah, it'd be pretty.
My wife hates power lines in her pictures. She takes pictures. Man, that.
I've also seen where they put art installations in those little neighborhoods, in the little alleys, and they say, do a bench and then a little sculpture thingy, and
Yeah.
that just kind of makes it
We
cute.
have a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice places. It's encouraging. It seems like it's trying to make our town more user-friendly where we stop and get out of the vehicle. And that is a plus. Yeah, stop and have a minute. Get out of the vehicle.
Oh, Keely, can you explain the EPA grant that we have for Brownsfield and how that we are going to utilize that, the remaining piece of that grant
I
for this effort?
remember- I remember when they came in and gave that whole presentation,
grant.
so I understood that. I was just curious of how it went from like environmental things to helping plan I was just curious of how they're.
Walkways and alleys.
Yeah. It was like, well, that's a
How
big.
they came from
Yeah, I didn't know they were
to, I think they identified some planning money that could be utilized.
Oh, that's nice.
Instead of just for Brownsville, they said, hey, you can use this for planning efforts.
Oh, okay.
And come up with a plan that you can utilize, incorporate into your comprehensive plan and such. So he
Which,
said yes.
which could bring in, like what Keely was saying, it gives her an opportunity to go after different grant money to make some, so by having this kind of planning deal could open up other doors that would
For
allow
Other
other
development
avenues
efforts.
of grant money or whatever for revitalization or however you would like to work.
Or attract developers with lots of money
Yeah, that's
that
right.
want to invest.
We could definitely use a high Raspberry 3.
I don't know about that.
When one of them
Some
revolving
over some
restaurants.
arroyos somewhere.
The zip line over the river.
There you go. As long as you wear a life jacket in case you fall.
Okay.
I think this is the last thing I have, which is, this is part of this is what Keely, you put together for the resolution for the fees. I was just gonna give them a little update at the end.
The fees.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Oh, yeah, hey, Chris, real quick, I just took a bunch of notes on what we talked about, but we'll talk more, and what I'd like to do going forward is I'd like to if y'all don't already have a Google Drive, we can establish one.
Oh, we do.
Good, okay, and then, I will put the plans in here, and we'll keep those kind of between us a little bit, and then the notes from today, I'll also put in there. And then I'm going to follow up on that park that we talked about because I think I might have some information on that. And then I'll let you guys know when the next meeting is with Stantec. I don't have any information on that right now, but I will.
I'll let you know what that what that shared drive is, Keely.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so go ahead with the fees if you'd like, Chris.
Sure. Basically, this is Keely's efforts to come up with some new fees, and they're developer-friendly fees. They're about a portion of half of what we're charging.
That's great.
And just wanted to make y'all aware of this in
Thank you.
case you want to spread the word, to other developers that, we're trying to make an effort to work with everyone. And what we kept hearing over and over again is our fees are just ridiculously high, and so we brought them down.
I know we asked for this a while ago.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Yes.
for doing this.
And following through, yes, thank
This is
you.
great. Thank you.
Yes.
Very nice.
Well, we can't take all the credit because part of our deal with Michael Yerman was that we needed to make our ordinance, our land use code, more developer friendly in order to put us in a position to qualify for more money.
Right.
And that is kind of, that next step is happening. It's called Prop 123.
Yep.
And it's a federal grant that's distributed through the state. And this effort with the planning fees and making the developer process a little bit more friendly puts us in a really awesome position to start getting interest in people doing housing here and utilizing Prop 123 incentives, which are state incentives and federal incentives. So I'll give you an example. There's a company called Elevation Land Trust that's kind of come down, and we're trying to court them a little bit. They're interested in us and we're interested in them, and they're a fund, and they will utilize incentives such as Prop 123 in municipalities that have these more developer-friendly processes, basically. It's not necessarily like making it cheaper for them because, maybe they're saving $1,000, but just the process, they want to know what the process is and that it's streamlined. So they're coming down, and I think they're presenting at the next council work session some of their interests in town. So yeah, it's interesting. Some of these little things that we do, you get to see how it gets to actually bring development into town. So I get excited about that.
Cool.
That's excellent.
Thank you. Anything else? Staff?
I mean, we've got some development coming up, but, you know, it's just in the very, very preliminary stages, so, you know, Circle 1, 2, 3, Circle K, Circle K has purchased the land, so that's a good plus.
When will they start developing?
I have not heard from them. I have not seen their plans, you know, progress. We saw their preliminary plans, but I have not seen anything since then. But it's just such a wonderful
That's great.
thing to hear that they've purchased the land and there's, 30 days notice
Yeah,
For the residents?
for the residents.
that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
That's what I was wanting to know whenever we was gonna work on that.
And then the other one is Maverick's Back. However, they're not in the city, they're in the county. And I tried to do whatever I could to bring them back into the city, but it's just not looking very promising yet. But I'm hoping that changes.
So is it County El Moro?
Yeah, it's
And did they
right
go?
past.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that.
Hey, we'll be able to get
Yeah, but you know, it's exciting that they're still looking at being here and they want to be a part of Trinidad, and that's cool. I just don't think we have. They didn't select the right area per se for us to annex. So
We'll annex it in a couple of years.
yeah, well, eventually we'll get there.
Stay away from no more.
Yeah, stay away. They had a building out there they wanted to sell me, man. I went up there and looked at land, and I swear there's one side of the ravine and the other side of the ravine, and that's the land for sale. And I was like,
Any chairman's reports? Anybody?
What is the procedure for, like, can you do a 6-foot fence in your front yard? Is that?
front?
Okay. So, if we see those kinds of things, like, I sent something to you before about, you know, my neighbor forwarded a complaint, and I gave it to you, and,
Who's you?
what?
Who's you?
I sent it to you because you
Me?
were, yes, because you were the one that we were directed to send it to, and so I haven't heard back anything on enforcement. So is there more of a procedure that actually, who does it need to get to? Who
Keely would probably be. She's been addressing
Code
blight in the
enforcement
neighborhoods,
yeah.
and we've got a huge list going on the permit side. So I mean,
Well, the first question I would say, first thing I'll say is the citizens interest form online. All the citizens interest forms, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be like something to do with the police, or it could have to be something to do with like an infraction for weeds. If you fill out that form, that will definitely like get into the system, and then we can start processing them. So definitely do that one. Of course, you can always email one of us too, and we'll get into the system as well. Citizens interest form. It's on the website.
You know why a lot of people hesitate to do that, Keely, is because they don't want their neighbors mad at them, you know, because you have to put your name on it. So I didn't know you were the one looking over that. That's good to know you are. I just have a suggestion that people should be able to put something in without having to say who they are, right?
There's not an anonymous field on that form?
No. Well, the last time I looked at it, there was not. And
Okay. Yeah, so maybe good idea. I think we should add the anonymous field, or I really think it's great to start with Tara Booth, who's our development services administrator. because everything for her just goes into the system. So it's going to be dealt with one way or the other, and especially if we have the address on file. Okay, so I would say tara.booth@trinidad.co.gov.
Or send it to
Tara
me and I'll forward it to Tara.
Yeah, and then citizens interest form also. And those are the best ways.
But in theory.
Or you can just
if
come
somebody's
in
gonna build
and
a
start
fence,
yelling at her at the counter like
they
everybody
sh-
else does.
They should have to pull a permit if they're gonna go out there and build a 6-foot fence if you're in the city
Well,
limits.
it's 6 fences
Under
up.
6 foot, you
know.
don't need to do anything unless
Yeah,
And
yeah, 6-foot fence is not a thing.
Okay, okay. Cool.
It's like 5'11" and a half, I think, right? In the backyard, you don't need a permit.
If you
But
say
you
a
hit
5'11".
6
Foot.
foot, you do.
You do,
Okay.
And it can only be around the perimeter, not the front.
right?
It must be pretty side out.
Okay.
Well, you would think, but that's not what they do.
Yeah, that's not what they do.
Right.
I have something. I've continued to check on to the bicentennial celebration I was speaking of. I have nothing to bring to y'all yet. I've got a lot of leads out asking for replies and can't get anything. It's still in the very beginning planning phases, so we're right on the very edge. So as
It's
I
like
keep-
quarter millennia.
Right, exactly.
Because
We
I
gotta
think
close.
there's another group talking about it actually.
See, we
because
gotta
I-
get this going.
I reached out and asked Tara, and she said there was another group that was talking about the bicentennial
See.
planning
Yeah, it's a big deal.
reference.
we had the bicentennial. This is the quarter millennium.
Okay, the quarter millennial.
Okay, okay.
So I gotta
There's a
write it
better
down.
name for it, but you need to have a name that isn't already happened.
Yeah, that one. That's the one we remember.
Yeah, I know.
Read
I know.
my-
What was the question about?
That's it.
You started to ask me
Make a
about
motion.
a way to make a variance.
I have
or
nothing.
to make a-
Just, are we in discussion now? Okay, so,
I haven't closed anything yet.
oh, no, when we make when we allow a variance, I think that we should try to make a point to include our reasoning or rationale so that it doesn't, and kind of get it into the minutes in some way so that it doesn't appear that we're just playing favorites.
I agree.
So on Chris's thing that she puts forth to us right here, it says how we're supposed to make our determination.
Right.
So do we, I don't know where that went, but it's in here, right?
Well,
So should
there's,
we just reference that we feel it meets?
You meets the required standards.
Mhm.
You can agree, or you can make a motion to agree with a variance or conditions.
Conditions, yeah.
Where is that? I know I see
it's in
It's
every
in there. We
meeting,
know-
it's
we know
a
what
staff
you're saying.
recommendation, but I don't
Not
know
the
if it's.
recommendation, it says
But
planning and zoning can
I feel
only
like we
make a
do need
decision
more
based on
conditions.
something.
I think so.
You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
right, where she relates it back to.
But you know, it's where it's appropriate.
No, for sure, but that's gonna be where, after we kind of close our hearing, after they go sit down, and we're in our discussion, if there's something that we want to bring up, that's gonna be the time for us to bring it up. So then before we move to motion, that's where we
Right,
that's
so
where we
we
enact
say-
that. So we have all the power to do that. It's just, now we just need to make sure that
That we find it.
as a team or as a board, that we need to ensure that we're incorporating it. It's all there, it's just up to us to make that, to put that in there. I mean, it's all there,
There's
it's
some
just up
case-
to us to make sure it happens.
There's
So are
some
you-
hearings that will be coming up that I really think you need to consider
Conditions.
conditions.
Okay.
So like
About
on this
what
one,
those would be.
for an
you know-
example, because I have no idea how to do this stuff. Like I just said, oh, I'll make a motion to approve, like.
Right.
Yeah, but
Should
you do approve with a condition of this or that.
Right, but on this one that we just did, right? Should we have said we approve it according to, or is just approved good
I
enough?
didn't know if there was anything appropriate to condition on this.
No, not, I don't think
The
you're saying
only condition-
conditions. are
No,
you?
we didn't put any conditions, but I mean, like, so we gave, okay, so We gave him a variance to put a carport in his front yard and ignore the front setbacks.
So say
So,
that.
but why? So.
Why would we do that?
Why
Right.
we did, we
Our
agreed,
reasoning behind
we, just because it was on a dead-end street, because it wasn't blocking any neighbors, because he got contact of all those people, just,
Right.
we don't have
It's gonna
to
clear
get
line of
overboard, but
sight.
just kind of say that, yeah.
Basically, it's a CYA, don't mean to say it like that, but basically it's a CYA.
Yes.
Well, and
Yes.
again.
So not
as
as
I-
simple as saying, that it meets the da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
I think if we just take, because we go through and we have the discussions, we make the decision based on something that's real to us, and so just kind of take the effort to kind of put that thought, make sure we get that thought down to protect it.
I'll let you
again,
guys make all the motions.
we-
I'll never be able to do
This was
that.
part of our last training.
Yeah, we as a group have all that power.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just a matter of, because I will say, like even today, I get a little nervous up here, and so there's things that, we have to depend on each other as a group, because it would be easy for you, Mr. Norris, to say, hey, how about, I make a motion to approve, but I want to make sure that it's known, yada, yada,
Okay.
yada,
Okay.
yada.
Okay,
And
okay.
then we can make a motion like that,
That's what
right?
you're looking for.
That,
It's just-
that kind of thing.
Yeah, basically,
Okay.
I mean, we already have that power. It's
Right.
just a matter of us as a group to utilize and work as a group to ensure that we're putting that stuff in there. Because he may be on a different brainwave, I may be on a different, you may be on a different brainwave, but somebody here, you see what I'm saying?
Well, like we gave Cy a variance on her street, and it sticks out like a sore thumb as you look up and down that street. So,
That was,
but there
I understand
were
what you're saying,
signaling
but
senses
that
and we
was, there
went
was
through
a
that
whole
one.
lot of
Right,
underlying
right.
stuff there that,
Right.
that's a whole different story.
Could it be as simple, could it just be as simple as, like for an example, it says here, I don't know what we call it, so you don't have to read all of this, but it meets the
Okay,
state, you know
interesting.
what I'm following? You know-
If we had a CUP for the Toyota dealership, if we had put that out there that their CUP was approved with the conditions that they keep their lights on during working hours only, this would be so much easier.
The
to
conditions
deal
make
with.
sense, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think he's talking about conditions, he's talking about when we just plain
Reasons,
approve
yeah.
something.
When we give a
You just
variance,
want
I
to
think
make
we ought to
sure
explain a
that
little
you
bit
have
about
the
that.
ideas behind it. Well, those are captured in your minutes.
Yeah, those are.
Okay.
I think that we're also covered by Mr. Yellen's new changes to the code where he says that we are not setting precedents plainly in our code.
Correct.
I think at this point we're covered, period. We don't have to say anything more.
But we are. I don't care what you say, we are.
No, I agree with you, but in a sense, we kind of covered those bases when we were all talking, right?
Right,
And we
right.
did make a motion to approve, but we all agreed,
Right.
in theory, we all agreed upon everything. When we talked about utilities, we talked about the setback. In a sense, in my opinion, we've kind of already covered our.
Because
We have, but it doesn't make it into
You're
the
thinking about
minutes,
10
and we would
years
have to
from
go
now.
back and go through,
You'll,
I get
10
it.
years from now, you'll probably go, I wish I had put something else in there.
So,
I don't think so.
when you guys think as staff that we need conditions, right? Because you guys are thinking this through well before it ever comes to us, right? Is there any way you
Yeah,
can't?
but I won't think of all of the
Sure, of
conditions.
course, but if you did,
Yes,
can you-
I mean,
is
we
it-
try to cover every base from
Right.
every aspect.
Conditions in there, when
And
they feel
every
that they're.
when you
development
feel there needs to be, they're there.
has,
It's one of our options, it's multiple choice.
I mean, the most important thing is that sign-off sheet and everybody looking at this project and signing off on it.
Yeah, when the city staff, that covers water, sewer, all
Right,
that,
right, right.
covered, we were,
Engineering,
everybody kind of was like already on board. It is a dead end street, like there's so many things that just
But
kind
if, what you're saying
just
is
fit.
if we think of something,
That
we
is set
add-
out in your mind, like, this, I won't be able to sleep tonight if I don't mention
Gotcha.
this.
And that's okay
piece.
for us to do that?
Of course it is.
Okay.
That's
Because
what
I
you're
always
here
thought
for.
that these rules that you have here, that we can't go outside of those.
That is not true.
Not true, okay,
They're rough guidelines, recommendations in case we don't know what to do.
gotcha.
Only
So
recommendations.
how do we know, and I hate to
This is
sound so
up to
stupid,
you.
but how do I know, or we as a group know, like, what's within our boundaries? Like, I don't ever want to say something or do something that's outside of what is allowed, you know what I mean?
I don't know who's gonna point that out other than the chair.
The biggest thing that
Okay.
we can't do is have a pre-meeting. That's the biggest no-no,
Right.
which,
But you can do like Chair Coker did and drive by.
I do
You
that.
do your due
I do that,
diligence
for sure, yeah.
and
And then
do
we
your
can ask
research.
questions.
You can even,
Ah.
you can even go, I don't understand this part of
I don't
the
know
staff
if we can do
report.
research.
I don't, we can't do our own research and the
When you say
drive-by
research,
is
what do you
almost,
The drive-by, I think, is okay, but I think whenever we go into the research.
yeah, you
that's
can't,
whenever
we
cross the
can't do
line.
our own research because,
That's us influencing.
it's,
no, for sure.
We have to go off of
But we're
theirs.
We
allowed
have
to
to
go
go
off
off the
and drive
information
by and
provided.
kind of
Drive by
assess
is
the
definitely
situation.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have
mean, you
anything
can't
to add to
insert
this?
your,
yeah.
At the end of the day,
Personal opinion.
the research part of this comes from staff. That's
Yeah.
their job. They're the ones
Right.
taking all the information. We've got community leaders that are going out there doing their inspections, and that's kind of like what we have to pay attention to what they're providing. Yes,
Right.
we are allowed to have our opinions on things. We're all human. So,
but just like I said, that the most important piece is that signatory,
Right, that's why I asked
development.
about that.
And everybody's
Yeah.
signing off on it because they won't sign off if they don't understand the project. They won't sign off. So that's the most important piece to me.
Kaylee, do you have anything to add to what we're talking about here?
I mean, I think I'm going to echo everything that Chris is saying, and just remember that we have to go by what's in the ordinance when it comes to land use, and so
Right.
if for some reason we're not, there's always justifications for why, and so you start with the staff, and luckily I love the way we do it, how we pass it around to all the departments. I think that's awesome. Not all municipalities do that, so
Right.
I think that's great, and that should give y'all a lot more confidence when you have to make a determination about something like that.
Is it appropriate, like, for us to call you guys ahead of time and ask questions, or wait for the
Yes.
questions when we're here?
I don't think it's inappropriate.
Okay.
yeah, if you don't understand
That's what I
something,
meant
that's.
by doing your own
Yeah.
research.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
coming
coming
to
gotcha.
staff.
Okay.
Yeah, if
Okay.
there's stuff that we don't
Yeah.
understand, that's what staff's
Don't
here for. Yes.
exert your authority over.
Right. So we can call you ahead of time and
Sure.
ask questions?
Individually.
Okay.
Yep.
Can't do it on an email, group email or anything
Okay.
like
More than that
that.
would be another.
More than
meeting.
3 is
Okay.
against the rules?
Yes.
Is that right? Yep.
Yeah.
More than 3?
Okay.
Or if we're at Walmart, more than 3 of us together talking about.
About the specific thing.
With a citizen is against the rules.
Right.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Anything else?
So did we decide?
got a
on
motion.
more
I'll make a
explanation?
motion.
Huh?
Did we decide?
Do I got a
on giving more
second?
Explanation on that?
No, I just think that, it's just, you can add one more sentence in there and, because the explanations aren't, you could go back and look at the whole video and watch it and see the discussion, but the minutes don't necessarily capture why we said what we did.
So should we say, we make a motion to whatever, approve, because it meets, the
Here's my,
review criteria, it meets, say, this planning and zoning commission review
Yeah,
criteria?
y'all do not need to justify yourselves. I mean, you're appointed or voted in citizens, and so you're duty is to make decisions based on the information.
Okay.
And so as long as you do that, it shouldn't be any problem at all. No ethics problems or anything like that. And so I personally, I mean, from the meetings that I've seen, I haven't seen any issues.
Okay.
So I don't think you have to worry about it, and I don't think you have to justify making your decision,
Okay. Thank you for that.
personally.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's good input. Thank you.
She gave you an attaboy, did you hear that?
Makes it a lot easier.
I would stumble over that one. I don't think I could do it.
Oh, okay.
No, I could pass it to you to do it.
Okay, so I had a motion,
Yeah, I got, yeah,
you got a second?
yeah.